All right, well, this morning we are going to make Malt-O. This is one of my favorite ways to start the morning. You've got a few different types of Malt-O that you can choose from at the store. Maple brown sugar is my favorite. So we'll start with 2 cups of water. I've got that in here starting to boil. So pour your 2 cups of water in and turn the heat on high. And then you just got to sit and wait a little bit for it to boil. While you're waiting, you can get your other ingredients ready. So we've got a 1/2 cup of Malt-O, some salt just for a little dash. And the box won't tell you this, but at training camp, we put in some sugar. So for this size of Malt-O, I use 2 tablespoons of sugar. All right, so once we've got the water boiling, we're going to slowly pour in our Malt-O as we stir so that it doesn't stick. Toss in your dash of salt. And then you want to turn the heat down low. We're going to just constantly stir it for about 2 minutes. You want to make sure that it doesn't boil over. Now, if it starts to rise to the top of the pot like it's doing here, you can pick the pot up briefly to alleviate some of the heat. But you want to make sure to keep stirring. I like the S stir method, so it kind of goes like this, like a snake, or an S right in your pot. And you want to make sure if you're using a pot that's non-stick, that you do not use a metal whisk, otherwise it will destroy the pot. So after about 2 minutes of stirring, you're going to turn the heat off and add in your sugar. There is your maple Malt-O with a peanut butter sandwich. Baby loves this stuff.
It's lunchtime, and I'm hungry. I don't know if you are, or if you liked peanut butter and jellies, but I do. So I'm going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but sometimes you need to mix things up a little bit. You need to add a little zhuzh. So we're going to make grilled peanut butter and jelly. You're going to need peanut butter. You're going to need jelly. Now this isn't really jelly. Training camp, we do jelly. At home, we do preserves or jam. Doesn't matter. Get your choice. Strawberry, raspberry, grape. I like strawberry. Bread. I like wheat. I don't know if it's healthy, but I like wheat. Lots of peanut butter. This may be a hard concept for some to grasp, but lots of peanut butter. You generally, I would say you want about 2-to-1 peanut butter to jelly, jam, preserve ratio. Yes. It should look something like that. And then they just walk down the aisle and get married. Butter, all right? We don't skimp on the butter. So we got a hot pan, right? So you always want to be careful with a hot pan. Get some butter in there. Ooh, it's starting a little too hot. So we want to get the grill going nice and good. Just get a little chunk of butter. You hear that? That's not enough butter. So we're going to add butter to one side of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then you want to add some butter to the other side. getting nice and gooey now. The key is to have everything melting so that when you take that first bite, it just spills all over your face. But preferably after a couple of minutes so that it doesn't scald you. Once your sandwich is looking golden and beautiful, you just pull it off the pan. Obviously, you want it to have like a little more reminiscence of royal servants, so we'll add a healthy treat, carrot sticks. We don't want to be too healthy during quarantine, so add a little bit of chips, and you got yourself a fancy lunch.
Daddy, I'm hungry!
Tonight is Noodle Boodle. To start with Noodle Boodle, we need to boil some water for the noodles. So I've got the water in my pot, kind of just below the handle line. That's approximate, just so we can cook the noodles. And I'm going to turn it on over here. We've got about 2 cups of noodles, or if you have a box, it might say 16 ounces, and you can just use 16 ounces. My 1 cup of mayonnaise over here. And we've got our canned chicken. Now you can use regular chicken and you can boil it and then shred it. I like the ease. Grapes. So we are not just making Noodle Boodle. We are making fancy Noodle Boodle. And got some seasonings here and some cashews. So this just kind of fancifies it up, makes it feel a little bit more like a meal you might have at home. So while the water's boiling, we're going to move over and do some flaking of our chicken and some cutting of our grapes. I like to use 2 forks for flaking. I think it works the best. And you just kind of want to work those chunks out. Okay, so now that our chicken is fully flaked, we are going to mix in the mayonnaise and some of the seasonings. So I've got my 1 cup of mayonnaise here. You can do more or less depending on your taste preference, but 1 cup is a nice place to start. All right, so I've got that mixed well. So now we've got onion powder, and we'll add a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and we've got garlic powder. So we'll add a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder as well. And then with the paprika, we're just going to add a little dash for now. We'll also come back to this bad boy and use it as a garnish at the end. So mix all your spices up so that it's mixed throughout the chicken and the mayonnaise. And it looks like our water is almost ready to add those noodles. Now that the water's boiling, we're going to add our noodles. Stir it. And then once you get the noodles in, you do want to turn the heat down just a little bit so that it doesn't boil over while they're cooking. Another trick that I like when boiling noodles of any kind is if you put a wooden spoon across the top, it absorbs some of the steam and it's less likely to boil over with the spoon on top. So we're just going to leave that there for about 11 minutes. Now that our noodles are cooking, we're going to come over here and we're going to cut some grapes. So we want to end up with about a 1/2 cup of grapes. You can cut them in half, or you can even cut them in quarters if you have kids at home or if you just like them smaller. You want to make sure, just because you're cutting grapes, that you're not forgetting about your noodles over here too. Every once in a while, just give them a little stir, just to make sure they're not sticking to the bottom and that they're cooking well. All right, the noodles are done. You can check them to make sure they're soft. Voila! They're drained and rinsed. So the purpose of rinsing the noodles specifically is that you want them to be cool. We don't want hot noodles going into our mayonnaise. Okay, Jack, I've got my dinner. What are you and the kids gonna have?
Hey, Zeke.
What?
How is it?
Good.